A pleasant good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. The Future Focus Global Youth Empowerment Summit 2021 starts right now. Opening remarks will be made by Mr. Nigel Lalchan. Our keynote speaker is none other than Mr. Daniel M. Francis. Our youth speakers are Ambassador Wanisha Saunders of the Bahamas, Ambassador Elon Wells of the United States of America, Ambassador Loretta Chitope Mwale of Malawi, Ambassador Felicia Scotland of the Commonwealth of Dominica, Ambassador Mpo Makofani of South Africa, and Ambassador Priska Onyeguara of Nigeria. We will have special performances by the EVP Caribbean Dance Academy, poet and author Mr. Leon Labastide of Guyana, and singer, songwriter, and vocal coach Tisha Gittens, US-based Trinidadian. And I now give the power to our amazing hosts for today's summit, social media influencers and global youth impact ambassadors, Queen and Clint Callender.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. We are so excited to be your hosts on this year's Future Focus Youth Empowerment Summit 2K21.
Just as my amazing wife, I too am grateful to the organization behind this vision, a global social enterprise who really has an interest of youth at the core of their mission. Thank you, Future Focus Empowerment Institute International, for the amazing opportunity.
Indeed, we are grateful. It is our prayer that the information and power expressed at this summit creates a shift in the way we view our youths globally.
Now, before we go any further, let us invite Mr. Nigel Lachan, Global Head of the Program's Operation, for the opening remarks. Mr. Lachan, the floor is yours.
Good morning. A special welcome to our guest speakers, registered guests, civil society organizations, permanent missions, and United Nations entities. This is the Future Focus Youth Empowerment Summit 2021. I am so excited to see so many young people from a cross-section of geographical locations participating in this year's summit, themed Channeling Youth Power for Nation Building. Now, nation building is structuring and constructing a national identity, and the youth play one of the most crucial roles in this process. The drive, grit, desire, motivation, determination, and high energy of the youth can make all the difference on the road to building a sustainable nation. Before we begin today's proceedings, I bring greetings from the management and staff at Future Focus Empowerment Institute International, and I must express how impressed and proud we are as an organization of these young leaders who will be addressing us today. Their commitment to be the change they want to see in the world, being the voice of the voiceless, and selflessly dedicating their time and life for the empowerment and development of youth within communities, nations, and globally is second to none. I am especially grateful to be a part of a movement that creates opportunities, build awareness, and provide platforms to engage, educate, and empower the generation of change. It is with this that I am honored to declare today's proceedings open.
Thank you, Mr. Lachan, for being so warm and welcoming. At this time, we wish to extend our gratitude to those who have made this day possible through their commitment and support to the vision of the organization and interest in global youth impact development. We will take a short commercial break. According to the United Nations, youth fall between the age brackets of 15 to 24. However, we know that we have Gen Zs and millennials, and that cover a wide range segment. So, if we are to refer to youths as persons under the age of 30, then they are approximately 3.5 billion worldwide. So, what is happening to this group? Now referencing the UN again, there is a kaleidoscope of information about youth in relation to youth and health and wellness, education, skills development, innovation, civil engagement, and advocacy, and definitely leadership. To our viewing audience, whether it be in this virtual room or on our social media platforms, we will now hear from a powerful, let me say that again, from a powerful lineup of global youth impact ambassadors from a cross section of backgrounds and geographic locations who will spark global conversation as to how we can channel youth power for nation building. Proudly, we can say that each of our speakers at this year's summit are members of the Future Focus Global Ambassador cohort and have been dedicated and committed to defending the present while focusing on the future of the youths. Ambassadors, this is the time.
Our first youth speaker today discussing youth in health and wellness is Ambassador Priska Onigara, a delegate to Nigeria on the Future Focus Global Ambassador cohort. She is the president of Excellence Health for Africa Initiative and holds special consultative status at the United Nations Departments of Economics and Social Affairs. Ambassador Priska, the power is yours.
Thank you, everyone, for having me. The World Health Organization defined health as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. And the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 3 is to ensure good health and well-being, especially for the youth, as we are the future. Now, when we talk about good health and well-being, it encompasses both physical and mental health, and they work hand in hand. The World Health Organization states that there is no health without mental health. And it is important to note that for mental health is a risk factor for chronic diseases, and people with serious mental health conditions are at high physical risk of experiencing chronic physical health conditions. And of course, vice versa, because people who have physical health conditions are at risk of developing mental health issues. And now, to ensure good health and well-being, we have to educate and empower people, especially the youth, with the health knowledge and healthy lifestyle practices, such as proper nutrition, healthy lifestyle and physical activity, avoiding unhealthy habits such as smoking, drinking heavily. And when we start living healthy lifestyles, we will improve our quality of life because we will prevent ourselves from having chronic diseases such as diabetes, heart diseases, and all that. It is time we start dealing with health at the primary level, which is the preventive state, to avoid having diseases. And also, it is important to normalize mental health education in settings such as schools. When we'll talk about physical education, good. We'll talk about biology, chemistry, mathematics, arts. It's also important to have a subject on mental health education so that people are empowered, people are aware, and also to eliminate barriers and stigma and social barriers for the young people. It is important to know that we want to get to a point where one can be comfortable to say, oh my God, I have clinical depression, the same way you would say, oh God, I'm having migraine. And another thing to ensure good health and well-being is to provide access to universal healthcare. Why am I saying this? because of financial burdens related to several health issues, chronic diseases, mental health issues. When people are burdened financially to take care of themselves, now it causes a barrier, it causes disparities for people to get the kind of care that they need. Thank you so much.
Next, we will hear from Ambassador Empo Makafani, who will speak to us on youth in education. He is the Assistant Vice President of Sub-Saharan Africa on the Future Focus Global Ambassadors Cohort Leadership Council, a Future Focus Global Impact Ambassador to South Africa, national athlete.
Say it again. National athlete.
National athlete and social entrepreneur. Ambassador Empo, the power is yours.
Hi everyone, this is Ambassador Empo from South Africa. I'll be talking to you guys on education, and thank you for joining in, and I hope you learn a thing or two. So I open with a quote from the great Nelson Mandela: "Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world." Close quote. We have learned over time the importance of education. Such as now when we're being hit by COVID-19, education played a crucial role in helping us and our economies over time. Education is a human right and is central to achieving many other sustainable developments within a society. We also have seen that teaching methods have evolved over the years, as it went from being in the classrooms using hard copy textbooks and to finally being conducted online. We also have other benefits that we get from education, such as gaining personal control over your own life, as you get to learn about yourself and your personality and your character. Education helps to make the world a better place. It also gives people the required skills for employment. It also have a more earning power, because the more you are educated, the more you are able to do a lot of things, and that gives you an increased earning power. It also helps people to achieve their dreams. If one is dreaming of being a doctor, they have to be educated in order to be a doctor, and it goes for other careers such as being a lawyer. You have to go to school in order to be a lawyer. As we got hit by COVID-19 worldwide, education played a very, very crucial role in helping us to survive and our economies to be stable. Scholars and scientists came together in order to find a solution in order for us to survive. We have seen how pandemics in the past have occurred, and because of scientists and scholars, they were able to overcome back then. And we are back in the same situation now, where scholars and scientists who are educated come together to share their point of views and research on how we can move forward. Livelihoods were lost, and people were subjected to harsh lockdowns, and unfortunately, a lot has been lost. It is of paramount importance for us to embrace education in our economies, as it helps for economic growth and social cohesion. Governments are fighting and are doing the best they could in order for people to have free access to education, and then that will help our economies to grow even better. From the past, we have seen that those who were more educated were more well off, and now more and more people are starting to be educated, and that is helping our countries at large to reduce the unemployment rate and all the other social challenges that people face. In the 21st century, people have information on their fingertips, and a lot of countries have embraced online learning, and they're starting to reap the benefits of it, such as now, because of lockdowns and harsh lockdowns and the spreading of COVID, many schools have adopted online learning, and as such, this is the benefit of technology and embracing change. The future of education is looking great, as more people have access to it now, and it is becoming a culture to go to school and be educated. As AfriFocus, we encourage all the stakeholders involved to encourage the youth and to push the youth around them to partake in education, to be well versed, and in order to be productive within their economies and within their families. Education, as Nelson Mandela said, it is the most powerful weapon which one can use to change the world. Let us be educated so we can change the world around us. Thank you.
Discussing youth in skills development today is Ambassador Loretta Chatope Mulawi, the Vice President of Sub-Saharan Africa on the Future Focus Global Ambassador Cohort Leadership Council, a Future Focus Global Impact Ambassador to South Africa, a Toastmaster who served as a Public Relations Officer for Malawi and Zambia, a Youth Development Head for Travel for Change Adventures, and a certified Pan-African game changer. Ambassador Loretta, the power is yours.
I am humbled and honored for granting me this opportunity to speak in this platform. Of all social misery, nothing is so heartbreaking as unemployment. A quote by Jane Addams. It is in this quest that as an ambassador to Malawi, I step in to help my fellow youth on skills development to foster entrepreneurship ventures. Fundamentally, when skill development is invested in the right direction, bringing together with passion, sharp critical awareness of the contemporary world, and the enthusiasm to play a decisive role, can significantly benefit in transforming the world into a better place, and the ability to complete a task with higher rates of success at the right time. It is essential because one's skills determine their ability to execute their plans with success, enhancing the economic growth and community development of a country. Literacy is not just restricted to education, but broadens to the concept of skills, which comprises of technical expertise, vocational skills, transferable skills, digital skills, and other such knowledge and abilities required for employment and livelihood. This provides people's flexibility to opportunities for self-advancement and not limited thinking of seeking for employment. Thus, adequate education quality and skill development trainings are recognized as fundamental ways of breaking down the ecosystem of poverty. Sweta Mishra rightly said that skill development is no longer a matter of choice. It is imperative to adapt, survive, and succeed. End quote. Skill is an integral part of education, and considering the fact that job creation is currently challenging and the country has to grow economically, it is important that the skills are embedded right at the school level. For that, a lot of effort is to be done. The benefits of skill development is surmountable, including improved recruitment and career opportunities, further development of good customer relations, which fosters entrepreneurial success. With more than half of Africa's population under the age of 25, the need for decent jobs is enormous. Malawi's unemployment was reported at 5.99% in 2020, according to the World Bank collection of development indicators modeled by the International Labour Organization, and is expected to reach 6% by the end of the year 2021, according to Trading Economics Global Macro Models and Analyst expectations. It is in this pursuit that I join hands with the National Youth Council of Malawi, which is accountable for coordinating and not limited to skill development activities for Malawian youth. Henceforth, a memorandum of understanding is made between it and the Monroe College in New York to advance skills development amongst the youth. In this context, the acquisition of education and skills can lead to industrial advancement, economic diversification, innovation, technological evolution, and overall development of the country. Thank you.
Before we hear from our next speaker, we will now pause for a musical item by singer, songwriter, and vocal coach, Miss Tisha Gittins.
If you hear this message, wherever you stand, I'm calling every woman, calling every man. We're the generation who can't afford to wait. The future started yesterday, and we're already late. We've been looking for a song to sing, search for a melody, search for someone to lead. We've been looking for the world to change. We can feel the same. Then go on and say, if you're out there, sing along with me. If you're out there, I'm dying to believe that you're out there. Stand up and say it loud if you're out there. We're joining hands today. Oh, I searched for a leader, but the leader was me. Oh, we can be heroes. Just go on and say, if you're out there, sing along with me. If you're out there.
Wow, I am all paused. Thank you, Ms. Gittins, for that amazing delivery. On to our next speaker. Ambassador Felicia Scotland is a delegate to the Commonwealth of Dominica on the Future Focus Global Ambassador Cohort. She is a PhD candidate in the field of material science and nanotechnology, a STEM ambassador, and embodies the principle of servant leadership. Ambassador Felicia Scotland now talks to us about channeling youth power through innovation. Ambassador, the power is yours.
Thank you for having me. My topic today will be youth in innovation. The United Nations defines youth as persons between the ages of 15 and 24. A youth is also defined as a special position that reflects meanings that different cultures and societies give to individuals between childhood and adulthood. Peter Foley, an American scientist and innovator himself, best describes the innovation process as a great idea executed brilliantly and communicated in such a way that is both intuitive and fully celebrates the magic of the initial concept. Youth innovators are young people who come up with potential solutions to existing problems. Sometimes they identify the problems themselves, or it can come to light during a job or conversation with different individuals. For example, your coworker may complain to you about a problem, and one day the light bulb goes off in your head, and you come up with a more efficient way to tackle a task, or maybe even reinvent the way that the task is done. Additionally, with the right training and skills, you could develop necessary technologies to get that same job done even faster. Often, we as youth seek to find shortcuts in life, and while there can be no substitute for hard work, oftentimes we need to work smart. Youth tend to seek out ways to shorten the time and effort that certain things take. Before Facebook, there was MySpace, High Five, and several other social media platforms. persons would need to have several accounts across multiple platforms in order to experience a range of different features. Facebook, when it came around, combined everything into one and gave users even more features such as games, entertainment, instant calling and messaging, etc. What is notable about Facebook is that its founders were only 19 and 22 respectively. These were youth who saw a problem. They saw a need for an all-inclusive and more robust social media platform. That vision is what has led Facebook to become the multi-billion-dollar company it is today. Indeed, vision procreates greatness. According to the UNICEF, there are 1.8 billion young people in the world today, and nearly 90% of whom live in low to middle income countries. Furthermore, youth unemployment is currently at 13% globally, which is 3 times higher than the rate it is for adults. Some of the biggest challenges that these youth face are a lack of opportunity and flawed systems that fail to provide them with skills necessary for the real world. I believe that youth innovation can solve some of these problems. Firstly, we need to ask, how can our youth become innovative and actually carry out their ideas? We need to create programs that combine social innovation, workshops, mentorships, incubation, and seed funding to equip our young people with the skills and resources they need to identify problems in their own communities and to design solutions for them while these young people build social and entrepreneurship skills. There are many programs across the world that select brilliant young people and mentor them. Programs such as iLearn USA, UNICEF, even our very own Future Focus, focuses on empowering youth, and they also take a personal stake in their development. These methods include taking special courses, pairing the youth with mentors in the area of interest, workshops, internships, and many other methods. These are very important because we want our youth to learn tangible skills that they can use in the real world. And those skills, by extension, will bring their ideas to life. 13-year-old William Kamkawambe built a wind turbine to save his Malawian village from famine. First, he identified the problem. The soil was too dry to grow crops. As a result, he sought to find a solution. He read many physics and engineering books at his library at school and gained the knowledge and put that knowledge into practice. Through experimentations with many challenges, including discouragement from the naysayers, he was able to build a windmill that then went on to pump water through the dry soil and save his village from famine. Without the books in that library and his dedication to study, along with his vision, his dream would not have become a reality. We need to give our youth access to the resources they need to succeed. The other part of this point is that youth must have access to funding. Yes, Facebook was a great idea, and it became one of the best tech companies in the modern history. However, the founders were enrolled at Harvard University, one of the best universities in the world, with unlimited opportunities and resources, along with a prestigious alumni base. Additionally, they had a first investment from Peter Thiel for $500,000. And even before that, the founders put together $18,000 as starting capital. Sometimes our youth have great ideas, but have little to no resources to get them off the ground. Where would Facebook be today had it not been for that starting capital and initial investments? These are some of the areas that organizations, governments, and countries need to seriously look at. On another note, it is sad to say, and very sad indeed, that sometimes the adults can be resistant to change. Sometimes they are stuck doing things one way and looking at problems from a certain point of view. The youth can offer a fresh perspective that is sometimes not welcome or appreciated. We need to create better communication channels between the youth and adults. There need to be synergy and a flow of ideas back and forth, coupled with the empowerment of youth. Now, while mock parliaments and model United Nations are great initiatives and very important organizational bodies meant to empower youth, they fall short in a critical area. They fail to give the youth actual power and means to carry out the great ideas that they have researched so hard to work on and develop. They need both implementation and spending powers. This is necessary so that projects can take off and that the youth can also feel that they are making a valuable contribution, which will go a long way to motivate them and keep them interested. A Congolese proverb states that what is true for the life of a youth is true for the life of a nation. Indeed, the youth are our future. And if we invest in them now, we can definitely have a brighter tomorrow. Thank you for having me and enjoy the rest of the conference.
A budding activist and humanitarian, Ambassador Wanisha Saunders is the delegate to the Bahamas on the Future Focus Global Ambassadors Cohort. She is the founder and chairperson of Gen Z Arise and a two-time National Youth Awardee. Today, she will be discussing youth in civil engagement and advocacy. Ambassador Wanisha, the power is yours.
Imagine a world where communities of people make the decision to become the builders of their society. A world where Gen Zs and millennials stand at the forefront of change. Imagine a world where civic engagement and advocacy becomes a new normal, and the fear of what people may think turns into people needing to think. To feast our eyes on the bigger picture, to think about the disenfranchised, to think about the power of our voices, and to know that we can change this world together. My name is Wanisha Sade Saunders, a budding activist and humanitarian, purposely choosing to express my activism. I'm 20 years old and the founder of Gen Z Arise and a proud Bahamian. I'm so honored to have this opportunity to present on strengthening civic engagement and advocacy. Thank you so much, Future Focus International, for having me. According to Webster's dictionary, civic engagement is any individual or group activity addressing issues of public concern. This includes communities working together or individuals working alone in both political and non-political actions to protect public values or make a change in a community. Anyone can be a civic leader. Anyone can be a part of change. Civic engagement does not discriminate. Who is society to tell us what a civic leader or an advocate looks like, what change looks like, what taking a stand looks like? I've learned that we are the authors of our own lives, and we don't have to be in political positions to invoke change. Harriet Tubman, activist; Maya Angelou, poet; Kobe Bryant, a whole humanitarian; Nina Simone, musician, all people that use what they love to bring change. In today's society, we have become a global village. A global village describes the phenomenon of the entire world becoming more interconnected as the result of the propagation of media technologies throughout the entire world. What am I saying? I'm saying that we are now connected to the source of not only opportunities, but world-changing environments. We are now able to volunteer, join movements, and advocate all from behind a screen. Gone are the days where we made excuses about doing the right thing, about being a part of conversations, and gone are the days where we sit small, stay quiet, and obey oppressive systems. It's imperative that we acknowledge our position in this world and also what we have to do to hold ourselves accountable. to understand the beauty and expansiveness of what we have yet to accomplish and what we have already accomplished. Sometimes we turn back to history to point out to why we deal with so much trauma, but very rarely do we turn to history to applaud ourselves, to think of generations of people who had to commit to something greater than themselves, acknowledging that we were working towards a future that they were not guaranteed, but understanding how crucial it was to do the work anyway. I firmly believe that it was their drive, the will to thrive and fight to survive, to rise despite, is what made those world changes and what can make us revolutionize civic engagement and advocacy. Like the great activist Martin Luther King once said, I have a dream that revolutionized American society for the future. And I too have a dream where we continue to view our neighbors as potential friends and allies rather than probable enemies. A dream where we as society no longer listen to those who wish to spread hatred and division to suit their own political and economic ends. A dream where our young people are not dying by a bullet not intended for them. We're pledging the allegiance to my flag and the Commonwealth of the Bahamas that actually stands for something, that we no longer accept that the challenges of tackling homelessness, poverty, and lack of opportunity are to be filed under the heading impossible to overcome. That we start declaring world peace, civic engagement, and advocacy to be feasible goals, to get real about what is taking place in our world and demand change. This is the future. This is our future and our children's future. A world in which we are evolving, a world in which we are driven by passion and not personal gain, a world in which collaboration is prized and creativity thrives. Thank you so much for listening to my speech, and I'm so honored to be here yet again. Thank you, Mistress Camille. I know that you are behind the scenes, and I'm so honored that you selected me to be someone who can speak on here on today. So whoever's listening to me right now, speak up, use your voice, and know that your voice matters.
Discussing youth in leadership is our very own ambassador, Elon Wells, the Vice President of Future Focus Global Ambassador Cohort Leadership Council, overseeing North America. He is an author, youth empowerment coach, and youth influencer. Ambassador Elon, the power is yours.
Hi, I am so grateful for the opportunity to share with you for the next few minutes. Our conversation is going to be talking about channeling youth power for nation building. And I hope that you will continue to listen as we talk about what we as young people can do to continue to build our cultures, our nations, and our surrounding environments to make today a better day and to make tomorrow a better future. So the word channel means to express your ideas, thoughts, feelings, and energy through a particular action or a behavior. So the first thing we have to realize is that we're being called to action. We're being called to movement. We're being called to do something. As the famous shirt or the sneaker Nike would say, just do it, right? So we're being called to do something. In particular, this conversation, again, is going to be about nation building through youth power. As a youth leader, one thing that I do understand and I always see is that there's a feeling of inadequacy, right? With young people, sometimes from older generations, and also sometimes from ourselves because we feel like we haven't made certain accomplishments, we haven't gone different places, we haven't done what our predecessors have done. And so it's super important to remember that Rome was not built in a day, and neither will your legacy. However, the most important thing about this is getting up and doing something. Okay, getting up and getting in some movement, getting involved in some manner, getting involved in some way to say, today I'm going to make a difference, and this difference will impact my tomorrow, it will impact my family's tomorrow, and it will impact my nation's tomorrow. How does that look? It honestly looks like this. There's a scripture in the King James version of the Bible. It says, where there is no vision, the people perish. Okay, that's Proverbs 29:18. And what that means is that there are some individuals who might not be able to wait for another organization to get started. There are some people who might not be able to wait for different grants to be written and different degrees to be achieved. But there are some people who are hurting right now. And where there is no vision means, can you see what we are going through? Can you see what we are experiencing? Can you see the pain? Can you see the frustration of today? I know we want a brighter future, but if we don't impact today, we may not make it to impact tomorrow. Okay. And so where it says where there is no vision, the people perish. If no one can see what our young people are dealing with, if no one can see the challenges that they face on a daily basis and the struggles that we face, then that means that those are overlooked areas of life. And then these areas develop, right? So it's now from young people into the leaders of the day, because tomorrow will be today. And today, of course, will be past tense, but tomorrow we'll be living in present tense. So what we do today impacts tomorrow. And so the things that we see today, right? The organizations that we see trying to help, the young people we see trying to give back, the grants, the scholarships, the funding, the community events that we see taking place today, while they are happening in present time, the impact is going to outlast the event. And we want to make sure that we find ourselves giving our energy to something that will outlast us, okay? I may not be here to reap the benefits of all of the community service that I'm going to be doing and that I have done. I may not be here to reap the benefits of the insurance that I have over my life, but I have a family that will reap my legacy. And what I want to encourage other young people to do is to maintain a lifestyle that when you leave, that there's someone that can reap the benefits from your legacy. Who will rejoice with what you've done? Who will be glad that I knew this person? This person changed my life when I was ready to give up, and they just said, good morning. They just said, have a great day. These are all things that we do at a local level that impacts the national level. How? Say that again. I said, these are things we do at the local level that impact national level. And how does that happen? You must understand that we are not to despise the day of small beginnings. Okay. We all have to start somewhere. And starting somewhere may very well be finding out what's happening in your local community, finding out what food banks are happening, finding out what social justice protests are taking place, finding out who is sick and may need food, for their family, and doing things at that level. And as we move on the small level, we begin to gain more momentum behind us, right? And then we begin to gain more followers. We begin to gain more friends to support different causes that are important to us, right? Because the movements that we join are always going to be bigger than us. I said the movements that we join will always be bigger than us. And through this, we are able to get that momentum and that fire under us to move to action. Okay, so it may not necessarily start in a national level, but if we start doing good locally, each one teach one, we will begin to impact a national and global world to make a better tomorrow. So thank you for your time, and I hope that I have been of some service to you.
With gratitude, we say thank you to these game-changing youth leaders. Thank you for making the conscious decision to channel the true power that lies within you to bring about the change needed for the future you are to inherit. We will now have a dance performance by the EVP Dance Academy, after which we will hear from our keynote speaker.
Yes.
People gather round. all of our people dance. Million people coming down, dancing to a song. Love is life and life is love, blessings from above. Can you feel the love that's in the air? Whenever you feel it, let me hear you say, dancing, moving, moving everywhere. If you feel it, let me hear you say, na 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 na, eh na 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 na. Take me to the river, take me to the sea. Wash over me music, bathe me in your melody. We are such a blessed tribe, sweeter than a million bees. People live 1,000 lives and never feel this free. Million people coming down, dancing to a song.
It's my great honor to be here to speak to you today. When I was asked to speak on the topic of channeling youth power to nation building, I thought, what an excellent way to kind of use my story to encourage youth, right? So what I want to do is speak on different aspects of my story the past 2 to 3 years that got me to this point, so that it can help you to do something similar, to be your best self. Just thinking about how you will channel youth power, I kept thinking about it over and over and over, because everybody's path is different. And even when it comes to nation building, it really just has to do with being excellent. During the course of my journey, I feel like I have gained a lot of different aspects that have helped me along. So let me start with that first one, because there are 4. The first one being, and I'm sure you've heard this before, find what you love. I know it might be a bit cliche, but it's so important. Whilst growing up, my parents would always say, do what you love, do what you love, do what you love. I thought they were just trying to be cliche, but it's very important, because when you do what you love, you'll put more energy behind it. When I was in school, I loved sciences, so I continued doing what I loved. I did the biology, I did the chemistry, I did all of that. And that guided me to medicine. I continued studying. I did my undergrad with biology, and I did pre-med. Actually was blessed to do it abroad. But when I came back to Trinidad and it was time to commit to sending that form, I found it a bit difficult. 1 month before the deadline, I printed the application form. 2 weeks before the deadline, I filled out the application form. 1 week before the deadline, I put the application form in a fancy manila folder and was ready to deliver it. 1 day before the application was due, I found myself hesitant. 1 day after the application is due, I hadn't sent it in. And I couldn't articulate why. But in that time, I told myself, you know what, maybe I just need a year to kind of think it through. So I took another year, I worked, I saved. I rationalized it as I needed to save, because I said, well, this is my passion, this is what I'm meant to do, so I will eventually get it done. Here we go again. 1 month before the application is due, printed out the form. 2 weeks before the application is due, I fill it out and I put it in the same fancy manila folder. 1 day before the application is due, 1 day after the application is due, and I hadn't sent it in. I was having a crisis of not understanding, well, what am I meant to do? My head was saying medicine, but my heart and my gut was saying something else. My issue was that I hadn't articulated what my purpose was, what I was really meant to do. I kept saying, I want to help people, but it wasn't enough. So I asked for help. And lucky for me, my parents were coaches, and I was introduced to personal development. And that changed everything for me. I found out from that first program that when I said I wanted to help people, I hadn't articulated clearly how I wanted to help persons. And this was causing all my confusion, because I thought that I found what I loved. But then when I was introduced to personal development, I truly found what I love. So you need to be able to experience as much as you can to really find what it is that you are passionate about. And think about it like this. What can you do each day without getting tired? I can do this every day and I won't feel tired. So that's one. Find what you love. The second one, And I know it's not exciting, it doesn't fill you with all the energy in the world, but it's educate yourself. And it's not just in the context of school, but it's about being a lifelong learner because it opens doors. After I did my personal development course, I realized that this is how I want to help people. I want to help persons become their best selves, just as this course had helped me. But I also realized that I was not very well prepared. So I went through the different steps. I became a coach. But even after becoming a coach, I felt like I don't know enough. And that began the journey of becoming a lifelong learner. I did courses, I read books, but more importantly, I had the mindset of I need to learn every day. Whether it be 1 minute, whether it be 5 minutes, whether it be 10 minutes, I need to learn every day. In 2019, this actually helped me a lot. I had a goal that I wanted to read one book a week. Yeah, I know it was a lot, but I found as many self-development books, business books, marketing books, anything that I thought that could help me in my development. And I just read voraciously, whether it be 30 minutes a day to an hour. By the time I got to September, I had read about, I think it was like 40 or 45 books. And it really deepened my understanding of things. But you know what it did? It also gave me more options because I had become more of a value to other persons. At that point, I had been coaching. I had coached probably like 200, 300 persons at that point. And in September, I asked myself, how could I help more people? And it came to me in a flash. Write a book, Daniel, write a book. I thought, oh, this is a no-brainer. But at the time, I had no knowledge of how to write a book. But the education of myself had actually done the little work for me, and I didn't even realize it. Because I had read so many self-development books, I had a handle on what I would do if I had to write my own book. Not only that, I took the same steps. I did not know exactly how to do it, but I said, well, let me educate myself. And we forget that we have so much access to information everywhere at our fingertips. So I just Googled it. I Googled how to write a successful book, how to sell a book, how to market a book, how to self-publish, everything that I needed to understand. And that helped me to then do the next step, which was make a plan and plan big, right? You make any plan, yes, super important, but you have to think big. Sometimes we plan so small and then we get disappointed by our results. So why not shoot for the moon and hit the stars? So I began planning with all the information that I had gained. I started planning. I said how often I would write, when my book would be done. Once my book was done, I said, okay, let me put a plan together to actually launch the book. I got specialists in marketing, sales, book launch, all these different aspects came together and we made a solid plan. Now, just to point out, this is pre-COVID. Remember that. When I put this plan together, it was perfect. My baby was going to be launched in a big way. The only issue was I needed about 40,000 to 50,000 TT dollars to make it a reality, money that I did not have. But I thought, if this is going to be my first book, if this is going to be my baby, if this is something that I'm going to use to empower others, because it is a personal, it is a self-help book, I think that I need to give it its best chance to do well. So with that thought, I decided to figure out how I can go to get a loan, personal one, to help fund my book. And that led me into the last point, which is major one, commitment. Commit, commit, commit. And I don't mean commit in the way that we think, where we just say, well, I'll get it done. No, I mean, it's do or die. You're putting your best foot forward because you have to. And that's what I did. When I paid for that, when I signed the dotted lines to get that loan and that money hit my account, things got real. I felt a sense of urgency and responsibility like I had never felt in my life. And that pushed me to do anything to make this book successful. Now, as I mentioned before, when I made my plans for my book, it was pre-COVID. When my book was meant to launch in April 2020, that is when COVID-19 came to Trinidad and Tobago, and I was like, what am I going to do? Right? Because I had a physical launch planned, everything was set, and then bam, coronavirus said no. But again, there's so much access to information and resources. And as young people, you know how we are stubborn. We believe once we say we're going to do something, we'll get it done. Trinidad, we call that bad mind. If somebody say, no, you can't do it, because there were many people who said, you should not launch this book now. This is not the right time. And I said, nah, this is my time. And I brought the team together and we put something just amazing together, which was a virtual book launch, first of its kind. And we did all the bells and whistles came together, and that launch was so successful and viewed so many times that my goal of selling 1,000 books in a year was hit in 6 months. And it just shows the cascade effect that that had on my life. One book led me to produce my second book, The Millennial Experience, which launched this year, which also led me into realizing that I can coach people to do what I'm doing, help them to self-publish successfully, open up a whole new business for me. Recently, I did a webinar that I do all the time where I'm teaching persons how they can self-publish successfully. And there was a statistic that I found that said that it is easier now to self-publish than it's ever been. But thinking about this talk that I'm giving, it reminded me that, you know, it's really easy to do anything really, because we have so much access as young people at our fingertips. When I'm talking about your phone, right, you can literally find any piece of information via that. What really needs to be set is your mindset. So focus in on what exactly is it that I want to do and how will I do it? Because you have the access, it's really just for you to say, I'm going to do it. And do believe that you have that power. Just our mere presence has changed the world. The way people communicate, the way ads are even run are changed because of the way that we consume information, right? So just to reiterate everything, find what you love. Educate yourself and be a lifelong learner. Make a plan. Plan big. Commit, commit, commit. At the beginning of this, I asked, how will you channel your youth power to build nations? But the honest truth is, it should be, what will you channel your power towards to build your nation? Once you are creating excellence, and it's driven through your purpose, nation building is just a side effect of that. So don't waste your time, focus on it, exactly what it is that you want for yourself, and chase it wholeheartedly. And I promise you, even if it is hard along the way, you will have that success. Thank you.
Thank you for gracing us with your presence, Mr. Daniel, and empowering us to take action. I know that our viewers have heard the beckoning call and are ready to be the generation of change.
This brings us to the end of the Global Youth Empowerment Summit 2K21. We will now have 5 minutes intermission, and when we return, we will transition into the Global Youth Visionary Award Ceremony 2K21.
We'll be right back after this.
Today, when I look around in the world, what do I see? I see footprints that men have left on the sand while walking through time. I see fruits of our ambitions, figments of our imaginations. And I ask myself, when will it end? When will it end? It is plain to see, universally this land is not bountiful as it was, simply because in his quest for success, nothing stands in man's way. All the rivers run dry, soon the birds won't fly mind does wonder why. Oh, why? Wow, wow. I see charity deployed, equal rights totally ignored, wisdom and ingenuity working in accord simply to afford such inventions as thermonuclear warfare and environmental warfare. And I wonder now, where do we go from here? Prophets everywhere gaze upon the horizon and declare that judgment will come, and the savage hands of unscrupulous men defile everything passed by. Time is running out as we eat and drink, species at the brink of being extinct. And I think no one can deny that the price of progress is high, real high. Yeah, yeah. I see consciousness abate as today we live recklessly. Money make egos inflate and thereby create a turbulent state. I see a struggle between the sexes, new hang-ups and old complexes. Now the question is, right in context, what shall be next? I've already seen this will have come divided between race, color, creed, and class. And some of the things this scripture predicts